The second half of the Atlanta Braves season begins tomorrow against the Cardinals. Alex, you recently did something on the site. Go check it out, sportstalkatl.com, discussing the keys for the second half of the season. A lot of them were individual. Some were kind of put together. I have some of my own, but I'll let you start since you wrote the article, and then we can just go back and forth.
Yeah, two are quite obvious. The status quo has got to, be the status quo. And what I mean by that is the stars have to keep playing like stars. Austin Riley, as of late, Ozuna, Max Fried, Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez, Rafael Iglesias, all the bullpen guys that we are relying on, they need to be playing that way. And then the other one is also very obvious and applies to pretty much every club with postseason aspirations. Injuries. It particularly applies to the Braves because we are down our two best players and have been for the entirety of the season. I don't think any club other than maybe the Dodgers could really say that. But, we lose another key cog in this machine, and it's going to be, almost impossible to win a World Series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking specifically at Max Fried and Chris Sale, and you lose either one of them.
Or Riley. I mean,
you lose any one of those three, Ozuna. I mean, you lose someone like that, you can basically stick a fork in the Atlanta Braves. I mean, it's just kind of the unfortunate circumstances. They don't have the depth, and I don't think they're going to be able to get the depth necessary. I don't think they're going to go trade for 4 outfielders like they did in 2021. So yeah, I mean, I think obviously injuries. Hopefully, I pray every day. I mean, baseball usually you don't have a ton of injuries outside of pitchers, but the Braves, it seems like every single player has missed time this season. So as long as no significant injuries heading into the postseason, that's big. I would even shorten up the stars have to be stars. Yes, obviously Riley and Ozuna need to keep hitting. But I think more than anything, just the pitching staff. I think the pitching staff has to carry this team, right? So I think the pitching staff, whether it's Max Fried stepping up and being a dominant ace, maybe Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez takes a step back maybe, and then Max Fried steps up and he's Ronaldo Lopez in the second half. I think there's multiple different combinations, but more than anything, this pitching staff has to continue to carry this team and be one of the best in baseball. If they can do that, you have a dominant pitching staff going into the postseason that's healthy and has a lot of horses. You're going to have a chance to win because you're going to prevent the other team from scoring. And if the team doesn't score any runs, it's hard to lose games.
Yeah, and then I got into the individuals, and you can pick out any 3 or 4 guys that you're like, we need you to kind of be better. And I think my 3, Orlando Arcia needs to be better. And it's not even like the Braves need Orlando Arcia to be the 2023 All-Star that he was in the first half of last season. Like, they just need him to not be the worst player in baseball. Like, he currently supports an OPS sub 600. That's pathetic. Like, he's a 15 to 20% below league average guy, WRC plus wise. If you're that's fine. Like, literally, that would be such a drastic improvement of what we've had that, like, it would be a welcome sight. And he ended the first half on a good note. That Friday game, he had a home run, a part of a 2-for-3 multi-hit game. It was the first time he's had a home run in a multi-hit game in like 30 games, which is crazy. So maybe that kind of propels him into the second half of the season. We just need him not to be a tomato can.
Yeah, I mean, and then you could even take that a step further. And I was going to say something at the end, but just maybe fixing the shortstop position, whether that's Orlando Arcia figuring it out, whether that's Nacho Alvarez coming up and being an improvement over Orlando Arcia, or whether that's getting someone externally, fixing the shortstop, making the shortstop position not
a weakest, negative war.
Yes, the weakest link of your team.
Just a net zero would be a drastic improvement.
And you shouldn't have a net zero. I mean, dude, just fix it, right? Yeah. Like there's like whether it's Nacho, whether it's Orlando, whether it's someone that's not on the team right now, fixing the shortstop position. One person that you didn't include, but I think it is a good one, and it's a guy coming off injury, is Michael Harris. I mean, Michael Harris has basically been a zero. Outside of some defense, he's been an offensive zero. We know what he can do offensively. Obviously, he's been injured for a long time, but he was struggling before the injury. Can he come back from this injury and be the Michael Harris that we know, right? Like, I mean, we talk about the trade deadline. The biggest acquisition the Atlanta Braves are going to get over the next 2 months is Michael Harris. And there is no question about it. Can Michael Harris be the guy that we know he can be? And a guy that we thought we were talking about, and we weren't the only people talking about a potential MVP candidate. Can he have one of those, final months of the season? I think it'll take him a little while to get back in the grooves of things, but can he get hot going into the postseason?
This feels very, he hasn't been named an all-star yet, despite having all-star numbers offensively and defensively. He's not been yet named an all-star. One, because of the rookie campaign. He wasn't here for the entire season. Secondly, he was dreadful in the first half of last season, injuries and struggles at the plate. And then he went on that tear in the second half after a Ozuna butt slap. I'm going to predict, something similar. He'll finish around, 800 plus OPS. It'll be all-star numbers, but it's just the second half of last season, which is dumb. It should be a full season award always.
I just don't know why they don't have
like Orlando Arcia shouldn't be an all-star.
Why don't they have it at any awards at the end of the season? Like an all MLB team, like you have an all NBA team. You have, like, I understand that you want to have the all-star game in the middle of the season, give them a break and stuff from 162 games.
That's a good question.
And that's fine. But why don't they have like legitimate awards at the end where they say
little man Fred?
It doesn't. They've always done this, so it doesn't.
Little man.
I mean, this game's been around for 200 years and no one's figured that out. I mean, this isn't rocket science. We talked about the college football playoff.
There's probably some absolute bums that have like 6 all-star appearances who are just great in the first half and like regular stats.
There'll be Hall of Famers that have 4 all-star appearances, and you're like, how do he was only an all-star 4 times? Well, yeah, but he was an all-star in the second half 90 times.
Yeah.
The biggest one, and we talked about it, it's Matt Olson, right?
Yep.
Like, Matt Olson is the guy who finished 4th in the MVP race. I mean, I said the biggest addition would be Michael Harris. Matt Olson could be even bigger if he can get his head out of his ass, because frankly, he's been among the worst first basemen in baseball. And if you take it back to the last month, he's been one of the worst players in all of baseball. And I understand he's a streaky hitter. We are dying for one of those hot streaks in Atlanta. The summer months, we talk about these guys getting hot. We're in the middle of the summer. We're past.
It's blazing hot here.
Like, it's 100.
I walk outside to get the mail.
Now, we can't talk about the balls not flying, the weather being cold. No, the balls are flying. Like, we are seeing balls go out that weren't going out at the beginning of the year. Matt Olson, it's time to step up. And frankly, that guy's got so much power. It doesn't matter if it's dead balls or whatever.
Right.
These balls should be going out of the yard. Matt Olson, man.
Coming into this season, I think it was like 2019. So from 2019 to 2023, nobody hit more home runs in baseball than Matt Olson. He is that powerful. He is arguably the most powerful hitter in baseball. I've said it time and time again. He set the record for most home runs in a season last year. In a franchise with such a rich history of home run hitters. Like, some of the best power hitters in baseball have played for this franchise, and Matt Olson broke that record. And not only that, he set career marks in literally every single offensive metric, average, on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, RBIs, home runs, and now every single one of those that I just mentioned, if the trends continue, that is the home runs and RBIs, they will all be career lows. And some of those are even career lows, including the 2020 COVID shortened season. Some of them are not. It's not a stretch to say Matt Olson has played the worst he's ever played in his career in this first half of the season. And I think that he would probably tell you that. With that being said, that should give you some optimism. Because he can't possibly be worse. He can't possibly be worse than he's already been. And we know he can be better. He was better than Austin Riley last year. He was the best. You could have made an argument last year that he should have finished ahead of Freddie Freeman in the MVP voting, and hell, in some instances in a different time period when everybody, the long ball, was it all, he'd finish second behind Ronald Acuna Jr. ahead of Mookie Betts. So we know what he's capable of. It's just time for him to just go out and do it. And I think it will come. Like you said, he's very capable of slugging 700 over a 3-week span. We just need it sooner rather than later. Again, if you want to save it for October, I won't hate you, Matt Olson.
Yeah, and the last thing that I want to mention, this wasn't in your article, but it's Alex Anthopoulos, and it is the trade deadline. He has to be perfect, and we're asking a lot out of this GM. It almost seems like we're always asking to be perfect, and more often than not, he delivers. But this is a moment that without your 2 best players, you have to create some magic. We do expect these guys to be better on their own, but this is a team that still needs depth. We have 3 guys at the back of the lineup with sub 600 OPSs. Like, this team needs not just guys that can play every day, maybe 1 or 2 of those guys, but it also needs some depth. And in case of injuries, you need to protect yourself, because you can't waste this year. As I've said, with this pitching staff, you cannot waste a season where you have 3 all-star starters and one of the best bullpens in baseball. You have to give this team a chance to win, because even without those guys, this team's good enough to win a World Series. And I don't think there's any doubt about it. So Alex Anthopoulos, it's not easy. He makes it look easy a lot, but he's got to nail it again.
2+ decades, the Braves haven't had 3 all-star pitchers go to the all-star game. This is absolutely the best rotation we've had in 2+ decades, since those 3 were roaming Turner Field. I mean, if you ever needed a reason to kind of go all in, I know we talk about the big picture. It's now. I mean, it's all now. I don't care what your favorite prospect does, looks like, what you think he can become. He's a trade chip. We need a win now.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I expect them to at the trade deadline.